Hey guys, Jeep friends of the Jeep community. It's good to see you. Or is it? That means that we're working on something today, and it's a problem. Got my Patriot here behind me. It's got an issue. The transmission, it's a manual 5-speed, and it's making a terrible racket sound. It's almost like a grinding type of, yeah, it's just not good. And doing some research, I have an idea of what it could be. Don't know for sure, but we're gonna do some investigating and I'll take you along for the ride. So let's see what happens here. All right, well, this is my 2011 Jeep Patriot 2.4 liter 5-speed transmission. And it's, this thing is interesting. It's only got, it just rolled over 35,500 miles. And believe it or not, this, I believe, was somebody's off-road toy at one time, which you can see for obvious reasons. I didn't put this bumper on here. But I believe it kind of led a little bit of a harder life. I don't know why someone would buy a Jeep Patriot and do this, but, to each their own. I just use it as a daily driver now. I bought it 2 years ago with 16,000 miles, and about probably 4,000 miles later, it started making this slight, like a rattle sound. And I was at first just pretending I didn't hear it, and it's been getting worse as I now cross over in the 35,000 mile range. And basically I've been trying to pinpoint it a little bit more now here as of recent. And after doing some research, I kind of think I know what maybe. I bought it, I bought a mechanic's stethoscope, and we're going to try to use that to our advantage and see if we can pinpoint this problem. But my thought is I'm going to actually hear what I think it is, and it's probably going to be these two bearings on the driver's side of the transmission. I believe they're called the Input and Countershaft Bearings. At least that's what I hope it is with the information that I've dug up. It kind of seems like it's a possible job to repair. It might be an okay thing to do, but we'll find out. I might just replace them anyway, because what other choice do I have? So if it's not that, I guess I'm buying a new transmission or a refurb. And then once I'm in there, then at that point, maybe I'm doing a clutch. So I don't really have much to lose. I'm probably going to end up just changing those anyway. What do I have to lose? But anyway, I'm going to start this thing up, and I'll let you guys listen, see what you think. All right, so before I start this up, it's like I said, it's kind of like a grinding sound, and it's kind of intermittent. And the research that I have dug up, it kind of for those people, it's more of like a whining or a whirring, if that makes any sense, if that's a word, sound. Or mine is more of like somebody dropped gravel, and it's intermittent. But anyway, when I push the clutch in, it goes away. And then when I release it, it comes back. I don't know how well it's going to translate to the phone audio, but we'll find out. Take it out first. push my foot on the clutch, and start it up. So like right now, I don't hear anything because I have my foot on the clutch. So I'll take my foot out, and it's just intermittent. Like right now, it's not doing anything. And there it goes. Can you hear that? I'll put my foot back on the clutch, and it's gone. Foot back out. And see, it's like it takes a second for it to start. I'm gonna rev it up. You hear that? So that's what I'm after. That's what I'm hearing. Oh. It just almost sounds like something's broken in there. I'm really hoping it's these bearings. Scary sounds. Unfortunately for me, I'm gonna have to remove my current project, my current winter project that I really wanted to work on. This is what I normally work on. This is what I want to be working on. I want to be working on my AMCs. This is my budget AMC drag car that I'm throwing together for as cheap as possible, so I can hopefully run 13s at the drag strip. You know, fast car, 13-second car. Well, that's my goal anyway for starting out. But yeah, this is what I want to be working on. I don't want to be working on daily driver stuff because that stuff's just supposed to work. And I can't push out my tractor because it's 15 degrees outside and I need that for plowing, and it doesn't start when it's cold. So fortunately, I got to push my fun project out and push in the not so fun project. So I'm going to do that. Wish me luck. That's just a darn shame. The real project cars outside. Just a darn shame. All right, well, I got my Patriot in my shop, and you're gonna have to excuse my heater. That's how I survive. So I'm sorry. I will try to talk over it the best I can. Yeah, that's about all I can really say about that. But here it is. And because they put this fantastic, actually I really enjoy this bumper. It's really cool. My winch actually doesn't work. I'd like to fix that eventually, but because they put this bumper on here, they tore off, well, it's got a skid plate on it, okay? So they took off everything that would have been from the factory, and it's got this two-piece skid plate thing that, it's kind of weird. I was running without this thing for 2 years, and just a couple months ago I put it back on, so, wasn't foreshadowing anything at all, had no idea. Well, like I said, I knew this noise was there. It's been happening for a while, but I guess I was just turning the radio louder, and now it's to the point where it's overpowering my radio, so I guess I have to pay attention to it. Anyway, I gotta crawl under here. I gotta get my skid plate off. I gotta get this thing in the air. And when air, I mean jack stands, which are laying right there, because pretty much anything that's in this bay is, well, it's on jack stands. But all right, here we go. We're gonna start troubleshooting this and hopefully start fixing her up. Well, if you were doing this job with your assumingly normal Patriot or Compass, yeah, you wouldn't have what I have here. I got this skid plate, and I was actually pretty proud of this. I actually welded some nuts on the backside, so this actually would come on and off easier. That was one of the reasons why I didn't put this back on, is because it was so freaking cobbled, and you had to like get something on the backside to hold the nut, and it's just like, I'm not messing with that. Well, then I decided to mess with it, and now I gotta take it back off. But anyway, yeah, if you're doing this, you probably don't have this, but I do. So I gotta take this off, which is it's a 2-piece skid plate. I gotta take this front part off, and then I gotta take the belly pan off so I can get at where I believe the problem is. I hope anyway. I freaking hope. But once I get this off, I'm gonna get my newly acquired Hobo Freight mechanics stethoscope and take a listen there and see what we hear. But first I gotta get that off. Here we go. Okay, so now that we got all that out of the way, I bought my mechanics stethoscope, and I'm gonna listen in here because apparently that's where these two bearings are, the input shaft being on the left and the counter shaft being on the right. And I'm really hoping that's what it is, because apparently these can be replaced. I really hope. I really do hope. So, yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fire it up. I gotta open my garage door and lose all my heat, so that's cool. Otherwise, you know, could possibly, you know, well, yeah, we need air to breathe, is what I'm trying to tell you. So, yep, get her fired up, and I'm gonna do some listening. Okay, so I put on a stethoscope and I was listening around in here. You know, it's kind of interesting. They put these little dimples here. It's like they know you're going to have to be listening for sounds, as these are probably going to fail. So they put little dimples in there for you. That's really convenient, because I use those. And guess what? It's loud. It's like ting-a-ling-a-ling right here. I'm still not 100% convinced it is the issue. My reason being for that is, you know, I hear a ting-a-ling-a-ling. Normally bearings don't make a ting-a-ling-a-ling, you know. I can hear something scraping, and like I said, it's the loudest right here. It kind of sounds like a scrape, and then every now and then a ting-a-ling-a-ling. You know, I'm not trying to create Christmas music here, you know, fa la 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 la, what the hell. But it's loud, right? It's really loud right here. So I'm really hoping my suspicions are true, and this is where it is. It would be the easiest of all the different solutions, I believe. So I'm gonna start tearing into this, and from what I understand, there's 9 of these bolts and 2 of them are concealed under here, which I feel them. I mean, I'm just gonna use a simple 13mm wrench. You know, so I'm gonna take this cover off. I know there's fluid in here. I think this one is, it goes into the fluid body itself or into the case. So I think as soon as I loosen that one, I think it's gonna start draining. So I'm gonna get a drain pan below this and drain it out and start seeing if we can see something, because like I said, it's loud. It is loud right there. Okay, so I think where I'm actually gonna start is the bolts up on the top here, because I think once I get down here, I'm gonna start losing fluid, and I don't have a drain pan in place yet, so let's start here first. Maybe. Oh, okay. I'm just using a basic, you know, regular ratcheting wrench. Nothing fancy here. At least just for these top 2 bolts. You know, I get asked, or people write in the comments all the time, hey, how come you're putting on cars like this on your channel? This isn't a classic. Your name is American Made Classics, not, you know, whatever. And, well, first of all, my answer to that is, well, it's what this channel is supposed to be, pretty much whatever it is I work on. That's the first response to that. And the second one is, this vehicle here has a number 1. Yes, a number 1 in the VIN. So therefore it is an American-made vehicle. I believe the assembly location is Belvedere, Illinois. Well, whatever's left of that plant now. So it technically was American-made. And, you know, maybe you're right. Maybe this isn't a classic. You know, you could argue that point, but as far as you know, cars have to be regular daily drivers before they're classics. So maybe I'm just ahead of the game. Oh my God, this one's on there. That's a knuckle buster right there. It's just waiting for me to slip. It's coming. It's coming. Okay, now I got the top 2 bolts out. I have a drain pan below this. I don't know how far it's going to shoot out. This already is starting to weep out of these 2 holes here, so I might just loosen it and see what happens here. So far, the fluid coming out doesn't look bad at all. I don't see any metal shavings. I don't see anything crazy yet. So I'm just gonna let that drain for a few minutes here, and then we'll come back and pop the cover off. Well, pretty much drained out now, so I'm gonna try to see if I can get the cover off. Oh, might need a little hammer. There we go. The fluid that's coming out of here almost kind of does look like it has some kind of metal shavings in it. Very minuscule. I can see some glitter down here. Get you rotated in here. Might be hard to see, I don't know. Can you kind of see that? Kind of looks like there is some metallic. So there's definitely something not right here. I guess we're gonna find out pretty soon. At least I hope so. Yeah, I see something. It looks like some metal shavings. Looks like it's like black. I don't know. I can't really. I don't know what. I can't tell if it's metal shavings or if that's just. I don't know. Boy, I thought I would see a smoking gun here. Well, I'm going to get in close here, and I think I might even remove the cover. I think this is just a dust cover. I think I can get a screwdriver under there, or a pick, and I believe this black ring dust cover should come right off. Okay, so what I did here is I popped off the dust cover around here. Obviously, this one still has it on. I just took a little pick, pry tool, whatever this is, and just kind of, I actually tapped it with a hammer and just kind of got on the edge here, and I was able to just lift this dust cover right off. So this is the input shaft bearing from what I'm reading with my research. And look, I don't know if I should be able to turn this, but it does have some movement. You know, should I be able to turn this? You know, like, isn't this supposed to turn? You know, then, you know, I don't know. Not 100% sure. Kind of moves around easily. I'm not convinced this is my issue, but what other choice do I really have? I'm going to pop the dust cover off of this one now and compare, I guess. All right, so I got the other one off now. And this one moves really freely. Of course, not when I try to get in here. It's just, I don't know. Is that right? It just moves around a lot. And this one, I guess that one's not moving too, but it just isn't as free to really move. I'm actually kind of moving the whole bearing when I do that on this one. And this one's really loose. It's like this, you know, if I pulled that snap ring off, I wonder if it would. It seems like there's a lot of tension on this snap ring, and there isn't on this one. The snap ring's actually moving around with it. That's kind of weird. Did that snap ring move? The snap ring does move a little bit. I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at here, but either way I got this far. I damaged the dust ring. I'm going to have to replace these anyway, so I think what I'm going to have to do inevitably is take this, I got to take this I took the dust cover off. I meant, I got to take this off, this bearing ball retainer ring or whatever, to be able to get the tool, which I don't even have yet. I got to order that. I got to order these bearings anyway right now, but I'm going to take this retainer off and see if, I don't know, we're flying by the seat of our pants here. So I didn't really record any of that, but basically all I did is I got out a punch, if it would focus, and I just kind of sharpened the chisel, chisel, whatever you want to call this thing, and I just sharpened the edge of it, and I kind of worked it back and forth with my hammer, and I eventually got this to break, this bearing retainer, and I finally got my pick to pick at it now, because I got to get this out of here. I thought I broke it, but either way, it's finally out of there, so I got to remove the bearing retainer, and eventually when I get my tool, I got to order that yet, I'll be able to put the tool in here and supposedly, from what I've researched, it will pull this bearing out of here. And I'm not even convinced. I think this one was actually good. If I had to guess, this one is the bad one. If I had to guess. But I'm shooting darts here at this moment. Anything I hope is positive news. But I'm going to get this bearing retainer out of here, probably on both of them, so it's set up and ready for me to use the puller on it. So this is what I'm doing in here. I'm using my pry bar, and I'm taking out the inner, whatever you want to call this, you know. And what I'm doing is I'm actually popping these little, I don't know, what are these, rivet spots? I don't know, holders? I tried actually using, this is from me, I tried using a cutoff wheel, and then I realized what I'm actually trying to break here, and it's these little circular, I don't know, rivet things. But it's a slow pace, and I must say this is a pretty intimidating job. I really hope this is my problem, but either way, I'm in it for the long haul now. Put on some stress-free music if you're gonna, you know, get your happy mood out and just try to be as relaxed and stress-free as you possibly can. But that's what I'm after. Slowly but surely, I got all this out, and I gotta do the rest. And I gotta do that over there, because I actually think this is the problem bearing, I think, if I had to guess, and I could be completely wrong. Who knows? We'll find out. So here's the secret to getting this bearing retainer out. I actually got out my drill. I got a 3/16 inch on there. Could probably even go bigger, maybe a quarter, I don't know, but I'm actually just taking the heads off of these. And once the heads are off, retainer falls right out. So there you go. There's the cheat code for these bearing retainers. Because I was just beating on this thing, and I don't like really beating on it. It's just, it don't seem right. This, use a drill, knock the little nipples off, and it's coming right apart. So there's your cheat code. Well, one thing I noticed since I've been here, I almost got this bearing retainer off, but I'm not sure if it's supposed to do this, but I can move that back and forth really, really easily. And it almost kind of sounds like what I've been hearing. That just broke off. That's cool. I don't know, man. That kind of sounds like the noise I've been hearing. So I already have the bearings ordered, but potentially it might be, I don't know. It could be something wrong in my transmission itself, but we're gonna try to get the bearings replaced anyway. Okay, it's been a couple of days now, and I finally got in my tools and bearings, and as you can see here, I got this one out, and boy was that a struggle. I gotta say that, you know, you look up all this stuff on the internet, you look at all what everybody else is doing, and you take bits and pieces from here and there, and nobody really showed this part. This sucks. This really freaking sucks. Because what you have to do is you really have to get this bearing retainer out of here. And they don't really tell you. They don't really go into detail how to get that out. That sucks. I took a drill, and I drilled out the little, here's a piece of it. You can see the little holes, right? I drilled each, I'm going to call it a nub. And once those were off, this bearing retainer fell out. You got to get the bearing retainer out of there. And everybody else is just kind of saying, oh yeah, just take a little pick. That don't work. That, you know, I was beating on it with a hammer and this thing, a pry bar and a screwdriver and a punch. Then, no. So drill those out, and then you can pull it right out. And of course, you got to get a snap ring plier to take off the snap ring, which I went to Harbor Freight and got myself an El Cheapo, $5. $5, took that off. And then also, again, just remember whatever information you see on the internet is worth exactly what you pay for it. So this is the tool I got, and you can see it's still stuck in the bearing here. Let me get this off the bearing and I'll continue on my rant here real quick. Okay, I'm back. Here's the puller. And do you notice something that has been done to this? Yeah, I had to modify this. Nobody gave part numbers, nobody said, hey, this is what you should use. They kind of gave you a picture of it and you can kind of see, and write-ups and videos that people had, oh yeah, this is what you need. But they never had to modify it. And the only person that said something about what to use, they replied to a comment on a YouTube channel and gave a link to this. Okay, so this must be the tool he used, right? Well, obviously not, because without this modified, you can't get it in. You can't get it into the bearing. And where you're grabbing onto is just behind this. You're actually grabbing onto the inner race, but just behind that. And without modifying this particular tool that, I know I'm on a rant here, but man, I was just frustrated. I mean, I know internet, the information is worth what you're paying for it, but man, it's always nice when you do a write-up or you do a video, just please, what are you using? It helps us out. So I'm going to help you out and say, so if you buy this one, it's a U.S.PRO, item number 5152, you got to modify it. You got to take a little bit off the back, and you also have to modify this. I use my my stone grinder, or my wheel grinder. You got to modify it. It looks like hell, but it worked. It took the bearing out. So there's your FYI again. If you're gonna use, and I wish I could tell you what they were using. I have no idea. It literally looked just like this. But this is what I used. I had to modify it. It's $34 on Amazon as of right now, in whatever month it is, November of 23. Who knows if it's ever gonna stay the same? I doubt it, but there you go. There's the tool to use to take it out. And I got my bearing out. And honestly, by inspecting this, I think the input shaft was good. But I'm still not sure if my bearings here are my problem, but I don't really have much of a choice. I really just have to just replace these bearings and replace the fluid. And if it still is making that noise, well, then there's probably something inside the transmission. But in my case, it's the only choice I have. I got to try it. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing on this bearing, and we're going to get this one taken out. All right, now that I got you in here, we're going to get this one off now. I got my snap ring pliers. Take the snap ring out, maybe. Oh, of course. Of course, with a snap ring pliers that's as cheap as this, you get also what you pay for. Oh, it's also why they're called Jesus clips, because Jesus, there they go. They fly across the entire room. I want to point out this really quick. My snap ring here actually has a lot of wear on it. This is moving back and forth a lot. So my initial thought here is, I think there's something to do with the end play on here. This thing is, and I could be wrong. I'm still gearing on it's the bearing, but it's looking less and less likely that my issue is bearings. But I think there's something definitely going wrong with this countershaft, because, like I said, you look at this snap ring, it's been making contact. It's been moving back and forth. So anyway, if this video accomplishes anything, it's how to replace these bearings, and yeah, and I guess it is what it is. So now I'm going to take my modified tool, And we're gonna come in here and go down, and it's still a tight fit. It took a while to get the other one on the other side. There we go. See, like, if you don't modify this, you can't get it in there, because you got to actually come in here like down and then come straight up. And if it's not modified, like I said, this particular tool, you won't be able to do that. So that's why. All right, come in here with this one, do the same thing. Man, there we go. That's in place. So also, I forgot to mention, you got to put a little bit of a spacer in between the shaft and the tool. I used a 13/16 socket on the first one, and that was enough of a spacer. And I got to put the bolts in now. Maybe. There we go. I'm actually not going to tighten these quite yet. I got to get the socket in place. All right, I'll get the socket in here. All right, kind of get this tightened up. It's going to take a little bit of finesse to get this lined up how you want it. And of course, everything has to fight you. Okay, so I've got the socket lined up with the shaft. This is in there, and now I'm going to tighten these bolts here, try to help secure it more so in place. All right, and now slide you back even further. You can see I got my ratchet. This one's a 9/16, and we're gonna tighten it in. We're gonna watch the shaft, make sure it's coming off, make sure, because otherwise, if this is not in the center perfectly, well, then your bearing is gonna get caught. It's gonna get stuck. So. There we go. And if we look in here, looks like I got to get the back part of the bearing ring out. So I'm going to get in there with this. I could maybe get that out of there. That would be really nice. Might have to get a pick. There we go. This is the other side of the bearing. Now, what's kind of interesting to me is I'm not sure where this one was for that side, because I'm pretty sure both bearings have, well, this. So never mind, I did find the one that was on this one that came off. So I had to fish this part of it out, which is the bearing dust protector that's on the back side of these bearings. Okay, it's a couple of days later, and I've got my new parts, new bearings here. I am waiting still on a clip, which should be in the mail here today as I'm working on this. But you can actually see the difference between these two, that something's going on. You can just see the ring lip on that one and just how much the gap is opened up. So there's definitely something going on here. Whether or not it's this bearing will be determined in just a little bit here. But one thing I'm also going to do is, since I'm in here and I was also creating a bunch of shavings and whatever, trying to get those bearing retainers out, I'm actually going to drain the rest of the fluid that's in here. I also use some brake clean here, so obviously this is now contaminated. So that's the drain plug right there. We're going to drain this and put some fresh fluid in there as well, and we'll have to go through that. I believe there's a fill plug. From what I understand and what I've looked up, it's a rubber fill plug, and that's under the air box, and we'll have to get to that in a little bit. But first, I would like to get what's in here drained out. And I believe that is a 8mm hex, which I think I got around here somewhere. Here it is. So we're going to get that popped off of there and get the rest of it drained out. And then while it's still drained, I want to clean all this up because I'm probably going to use this a little bit more brake clean. And if anything gets in there, hopefully it'll make its way out to the drain and in my pan. All right, now that everything is nicely cleaned, all polished up, ready to go, gonna start putting the bearings on here. I think what I'm gonna do is put a little ATF here around the shaft and around the edge here. And then I'm gonna put the bearing on. And I'm gonna get a socket and drive her home. And the socket that I found that seems to work is 1.25 inches. Goes around the shaft, and it's just the right size to fit the bearing around the inner race. All right, well, I had to take a break for a second there. I had to get up, and my shoelace got wrapped around the camera tripod, and the camera went for a ride, and then spilled all the transmission fluid I had. So, you know, that's going to be the highlight of my day. But anyway, besides the point, I pounded the bearing on here, and I noticed that I wasn't going to be able to get the lock ring on. So what I did is I took, this is a needle nose, a little bit of a lip on it, and I just kind of jammed it in here. You can actually kind of move this around. Again, this might be my issue. I honestly think there's too much play on this shaft, but like I said before, we'll find out. But I was able to actually stick this in here and just pull it out. So, is this right? I don't know. Will yours do this? I don't know. But mine does. And I got the new lock ring in the mail today. I'm going to put that on there. Okay, here we go. Of course, this gosh darn brake line, or brake hose, is kind of in the way. Maybe I go from this side. Okay. There we go. All right, snap. That's a good start. I like that idea. Well, that doesn't move in there really anymore. Kind of wondering if maybe that was part of my problem, was this snap ring was bad? I don't know. Let's get the other bearing on. One thing I want to make sure I mention, there's a lock ring on this bearing, and you probably want to make sure it goes on the right way. So you can kind of see it's kind of offset to the one side of it. This goes on the outside. Probably want to make sure you take note of that. Okay. I think it's all the way bottomed out. Let's try to put our clip on. Okay, there we go. See, this one here has it has something inside of the shaft, so I really can't stick anything in there. I don't want to ruin whatever is in there. So I think this one, just got to leave this one the way it is. It's a lot more tighter now. Because before, on this one, I could take this and I could just spin it around this clip, this snap ring. Boy, it really would be nice if this was the issue for me. I really, really hope. All right, so now that we got our bearings back in place, it's time to put the cover on and start buttoning things back up and put fluid in. And for putting on the sealant, the stuff I'm going to use is called The Right Stuff by Permatex. A friend introduced me to this quite a number of years ago, and I haven't looked back. This stuff is amazing. It's literally just a 30-minute gasket, and you can pretty much put it on there, put your gasket or your cover on, and put fluid in it. It's really good for like shops and stuff to just get jobs done really fast. Hence, it's called The Right Stuff. So, in this case, I'm actually gonna put it on, put my cover on, and actually I'm gonna let it set up just a little bit. I'm not gonna really take any chances, but if you wanted to, you could put this stuff in and put your cover on and put your fluid in right away. Another thing to note, and I noticed when I looked at this cover and I was cleaning it, it kind of looked like they had actually, from the factory, put the sealant on this, on the transmission itself. And it kind of looked like they just put a little bit of sealant here, because this one random bolt, this is the only one that's in the middle. All the other ones are on the perimeter of the cover. It looked like they just put a little dab right here and then around the outside. Doesn't look like they tried to fill in any of these areas at all. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Put a little bit on here and some in the center. Those two top bolts are a little bit of a pain in the rump to get started, but just not much room. But anyway, what's nice about this Right Stuff gasket sealant is that you can just tighten it right up. You don't have to wait for it to you don't have to tighten the bolts just snug and then, wait 30 minutes and then come back later and, torque them to spec. You can just send them right to town right away. So that's what makes this stuff really, really nice. So I'm gonna get everything tightened down by hand. And I'm gonna get in here with my ratchet, socket, whatever I gotta do, and tighten her down. And now with a little towel, I'll just come along the edge here and just kind of wipe off the excess. that squeezed out. So now I'm going to put the drain plug back in on the bottom, and I cleaned the threads off, and they use some type of thread sealant, so I too am going to use some thread sealant, and I will make sure it's nice and fresh. And what I got here is just something you get at the parts store, just some high temperature thread sealant. Put on the threads and tighten her up. Something like this, and this stuff gets all over your fingers. Not quite as bad as anti-seize, but all right, she is tight. So now what's left to do is to get access to the fill plug, and from what I understand, that's the access to that is below the air box. For the next part, I'm going to have the car back down on level ground, put all the tires back on it. That way when we fill the transmission, it's, well, level. And then we get it in there at the proper fill point. All right, the car is down on all four, and it's level. So we got to get the air box out of here. And from what I have researched on, the fill plug is under here somewhere, and pretty sure I know what a fill plug looks like, so I'm guessing once I get all this out of the way, I will find it. So we got to get this out. So we'll take the air duct, intake duct, out of the way. And then I think I'm going to take, so I really do not want to unplug these if I don't have to. I'm just afraid it could throw a check engine code or some, BS like that. So I think there's some screws here, that keep this cover on. And if I could maybe just take this and just flop it up out of the way, I think I'd be time and headaches ahead, or no headaches, headaches behind. All right, these appear to be 8mm. Now it looks like if I don't take this bracket off from here, I won't be able to lift it up. So I'm going to remove that one, and that one looks like a 10mm. And apparently it looks like I missed one of these bolts on this side. Sure. So I got a hose clamp here. We'll undo that hose clamp. Actually, it already is undone. It's loose, so that's nice. I think I can just, I think it just pops right out. There we go. Always gotta be difficult. There's a hose on the back side I missed. And apparently there's something else I missed. What in the devil is going on here? Okay. So, way down in here is the fill plug. My light is a little bright. There, see that little black knob, little protruding? Right here. That is the fill plug. And from what I understand, it just pulls right out. It's a rubber type. So this is the best idea that I could come up with. Just got a hose and I got a funnel on it. It's probably going to take a while because I think the amount of fluid it takes is like 90 ounces. I think that's like 3.5 quarts. So this might take a while. Well, like I said, this is the best that I could come up with. So I got her jammed down in there. I got a little light down there, so when I start seeing it pour out, or if I start hearing it pouring all over the ground, well then I know it's done, it's full. And the fluid you're going to use, ATF +4. This is going to get messy fast. All right, finally, 50,000 years later, she's pouring out, so she's done. I'm going to stick the rubber stopper back in. There we go. And I only got a little bit of a mess to clean up, not too bad. So now I'm going to put all the air duct and the air box back together. And I'm going to show you a little magic trick. Watch this. If everything was just as easy as magic. So now that everything is back together, there's really only one thing left to do. And that is see if what we did help me in my case, for that matter. Hopefully, if this is something you're going to try, hopefully it helps you. But we'll see if it helps me. Okay, here's the moment of truth. Clutch in, and once it gets started, so the noise was always when the clutch was out. So, clutch in. Okay, still got my clutch in, and now I'm gonna let her out slowly. I'm not hearing anything. I'm not hearing anything. Just the sound of that engine purring away. All right, I'm gonna let it warm up and check back with you in just a second. So far, so good. It's been about 5-ish or so minutes. I'm really liking what I hear. It just sounds like a normal noisy 2.4 liter. You know, you're a Patriot owner, you're a Compass owner, you're a Dodge Caliper owner, whatever. You know these engines are noisy. They're kind of clattery. I like that sound because that means that this is not making the sound it was making before. So I'm gonna go take this thing for a ride, a drive, just around the block. To do that, I gotta move the car that I wanna be working on, my AMC drag car. I gotta move that thing out of the way. And hopefully this my Patriot passes the test so I can put this back in here where I wanna be working on it. All right, game plan, set, hut. Guys, it's fixed. I don't know if you can tell by the look on my face, but I am excited. This is my excited face. This was really stressing me out. It was really worrying me. I didn't know what I was gonna do well, I guess I do know what I would have done if this didn't work. It would have been getting a transmission, because what else would it have been? It would have been something inside there, something else, but obviously it wasn't, because I changed bearings and the noise is gone. And in fact, I've noticed something else on my little test drive around the block, that I was always getting this crazy vibration from, it was really at about 1500 RPM to about 1800. So like if I was in a gear that, probably was a little bit, I was a little high in the gear range, like as in I was in third gear when I probably should have been in second gear type of thing. You know, blah. The car, well, of course the car is going to labor, but it was really, really, and I'm stressing this, it was really vibrating. Just completely, it would almost be to the point where it hurt your ears because it was so loud, so loud. I guess I just thought it was normal, but it drove me nuts. I just noticed I don't have that. It's obviously still there. But it's very quiet. It's very mellow. That was something to do with those bearings. Boy, that is weird. I'm learning all about my Patriot. It's got its quirks and its features, and it's a Jeep. It's a Jeep thing, and I guess I don't even understand. But either way, my hands over here. Patriot's fixed. I'm happy. I'm gonna put the skid plate back on it. I gotta clean up some transmission fluid that puked out when I was filling it up. That is not it leaking, because that would suck. But anyway, I gotta put the skid plates back on it, and then I'm gonna drive it to work tomorrow because it's my daily driver after all. And I've been driving other things in the meantime that, for instance, doesn't have any working heat, and I'd really like heat. That'd be nice. So, hey, I really hope this helped you guys out, because honestly, there's people out there that have made videos and they put stuff together, but they're just kind of missing stuff. Like, for instance, with the tool, like, you know, it's great that you want to record it, and you're helping people out in a sense like that, but you gotta cover the bases a little bit more. So just like everything I did here, like all the tool that I bought, the bearing part numbers, anything that I can think of that might help you if you're gonna do this, I will do my best to put it in the description down below. So I think it's called click the show more button, show more, or the down arrow, I don't know. And whatever it is, in 10 years from now, if you're still looking at this video, whatever YouTube is or whatever platform this video is on, enough babbling. Okay, so hey guys, if this helped you out, I'd appreciate it if you left a thumbs up. Maybe you know somebody else with a Jeep Patriot with this problem. The bearings are howling, or they're making that weird clicky clattering noise that mine was doing. Share it for me. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Happy Jeeping.